All right, we are live. Give it a minute here for folks to come through the doors. And we'll start in 1 minute. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are joining us from. Thank you for doing so. Welcome to today's webinar about what RASP doesn't solve. My name is Dan Gordon, and I lead technical evangelism here at Traceable AI, and I am excited to be your host today. We've got some great knowledge to share with you, but before we get going, I want to cover a few logistics of this session. First, the housekeeping. Today's session is being recorded, so know that, and it will be available to you after the session. This will be an interactive session where we will have a few polls. We welcome questions on your BrightTalk window below the video. You'll find a place to enter questions. We'll do our best to answer those towards the end of the session. And if we don't get to them, we'll get them outside of the session. With that, I am proud to be able to introduce today's speaker, Traceable's AI security researcher, Roshan Piyush.
Thank you, Dan. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. I'm a security engineer at Traceable AI, where we build API's first modern security solutions, leveraging distributed tracing as the backbone. So with 7 years of experience in product security, I have built security functions for teams from ground up, from mid-sized organizations like Ping Identity to large-sized organizations like Oracle. There was an aha moment when I understood Oracle is not just a database, but an ecosystem in itself, consisting of operating systems, web servers, JVMs, compilers. And what more could I ask to perfectly upskill my ground? At Oracle, I saw the first need for API security, and the journey to build API security products began, which is ongoing for the last 5 years. So you'll be thinking, why should you listen to me? Well, I write code on a daily basis of my research and have closely worked with entire security engineering functions, from development teams to CISOs, to understand their pains and solving them. I have invested a huge chunk of my time in finding right security solutions for different engineering functions. I do specialize in building security tools, assessing product security, and even breaching applications when needed. I do have a keen eye for patterns, which I convert them to consumable products. So on today's agenda, we are going to see what RASPs are and where the strength and the weaknesses of them lies. And we'll look at what should we look for further. Yeah. So a quick poll before we proceed, handing over to you, Dan.
All right, thank you, Roshan. We are going to actually jump over this poll. Let's get right into the meat of things.
Okay. So RASP. What's RASP? It's defined as Runtime Application Self-Protection. Runtime because it works to secure applications during the runtime as opposed to code or build time. Application as it is protecting all types, web, mobile, or monolithic. Self because it's instrumenting the application to have built-in security capabilities to protect itself. And it's pretty obvious that it's selfish by that. So it just protects itself. Yeah. Protection because what it does is to keep the application from being exploited, breached, or penetrated. Mostly OWASP top 10. They don't support a lot of attack vectors, but they do protect you from the most common ones here. So let's deep dive into what they are. RASPs are built or linked into an application or their runtime environment. They provide the capability to control application execution, detect vulnerabilities, and prevent real-time attacks. They also act as an important complement to the defense system that focus on the perimeter. So wouldn't you want to know what they promise to deliver? An ideal RASP promises on many fronts. They provide deeper-rooted code level visibility into the application, help in passive and active incident response features, which could be monitoring, alerting, and blocking modes. Configurable options to log, alert, challenge malicious behaviors, support for many languages and platforms, autonomous operations without your manual rules, and coverage for a broad set of vulnerabilities. They should also integrate with your SSDLC cycle so that you can get feedback or enter your feedback into the RASP and verify if the bugs it is identifying is being fixed by the development team and it's being tracked both ways. However, there are small footprints hidden in their promises. Let's look at what RASP deliver. Real attacks are difficult to identify without context. Every application has its unique exploit vector. A completely harmless HTTP request for one application or API could be devastating for another. Data could look differently on the wire than when it's landed in the application. So RASP takes the look at that contextual information available in the runtime of the application, be it the API, code, application configuration libraries, frameworks, control flows, or backend connections. More context means better accuracy. How do they do this? They verify the user input is malicious based on signatures. Now, these are signatures that are there in the WAF as well, but here this is a lightweight version that they have. RASP can actually check where the payload lands and does it appear in the known sync. So this is the most advantageous position RASP has with being embedded itself in the application. And if all conditions are met, it can take a decision to block or alert as configured. RASP are also known for the fact that they do not require training. Software is changing fast, and there has been an explosion of containers, be it IaaS, PaaS, virtual, or elastic environments. These allow applications and APIs to be deployed quickly, but also expose code to new vulnerabilities because you do not invest too much time in adhering to those. Since RASP sits within the application stack, they are able to understand the application needs and are unaffected by the application changes or environments. DevOps has also rapidly accelerated the rate of integration, deployment, and delivery, complicating the process of ensuring the security of rapidly evolving software. Security has no tail end, and that can be said and forgotten. The relationship between security professionals and developers is critical to the organization's success, but communication gaps are abound. Instrumenting the entire application, RASP simplifies the application security monitoring. You can create RASP policies that can generate log events when relevant portions of applications are accessed or other conditions are met, be it login transactions, privilege changes, or data manipulations. They can provide insight into where the application attackers are focusing on the application and identify weak points in the application. Mapping the attack to the exact code, developers can use the information to modify the code base and eliminate security vulnerabilities. RASP continuous monitoring and data analysis integrates well with the rapid pace of development. RASP solutions also integrate with your SSDLC tools like Jira or Asana for bug tracking, CI/CD, Jenkins tools, SIMS, or other syslog management. Even though the vulnerabilities are identified, developers need time to fix them. Not all software is built in-house, and not all software has a readily available development team with a lot of bandwidth on their hands to fix problems as they come up. And threats do keep changing. Organizations can take months to fix the vulnerabilities or issue patches, which create a window of opportunity for hackers. In the meantime, additional RASP policies can be added to protect the application. If you are familiar with WAF, you'll know this as virtual patch. Self-protected applications means they are protected wherever it goes. Configuration of a RASP tool can be incorporated in the build script that generate consumable application form to monitor and control critical execution points in the real time. This could be done by instrumentation, dynamic hooks, or secure SDKs. Sometimes RASP solutions may need to be disabled or re-enabled, which can be done via code snippet configuration or environment variable change. So that brings us to the end of advantages. To you, Dan, for our next poll.
Great, thank you. We've got the kinks worked out there, so we are going to do our second polling question. So I have launched the poll just now. So you have 60 seconds or so to answer. Everyone could look down below the video window. You should see a area where you can vote in the poll. And the question is, how are your applications, either web, mobile, services, et cetera, whatever those be, protected today? Are you using RASPs? Are you using WAF and NGWAF for API gateways? Combination of them, WAF plus RASP, WAF plus API gateway. If you're using all three, that's good for you. Go ahead and pick either WAF plus RASP or WAF and API gateway. And the results are coming in. I'll give it just a few more seconds, 15 more seconds. And a few more seconds here. Okay, so it looks like we have kind of a tie. We have about half of you are using RASPs, and about half of you are using WAFs plus API gateway. So very interesting. So glad that you've come to the session here. Oh, our numbers are changing. Got a late entry. Looks like WAF plus API gateway is taking the lead. So very good. Hopefully you'll get some good value, we believe, out of this great content that Rashawn is providing. So with that, I will end the poll and switch it back to you, Rashawn.
Thank you, Dan. We have looked at what RASP can deliver. Let's look at where they fall short. Since RASPs are embedded within the application, it is only so much they can achieve with their confined context. Practically, no application is self-contained. They interact with multitude of other services and components, especially with the booming microservices world, right? Consider that each application module of an application can be deployed in different endpoints. This further limits RASP visibility and capabilities. RASP is also not a plug-and-play solution. They still require tuning of rules based on applications, deployment environments, or your protection profiles required by the organization. Developers may also be required to integrate with the RASP SDKs and do additional code changes for advanced use cases like user attribution or account takeover protections. Periodic updates of detection rules and signatures are also required for each RASP deployment in the organization. Modern API attacks like POLA, BAFLA, mass assignment, they are on rise. Business logic attacks remain some of the most insidious attacks against modern application. POLA is an example of a business logic attack that RASP is likely to miss. POLA occurs when an attacker substitutes the resource ID in an API call with the resource ID of another user. An attacker is able to access the resource due to lack of authorization checks. Since attack inputs remain consistent with what the application received before, RASP finds no reason to inspect it and will let it pass through. Let's look at a sample POLA attack. If you see on the left, we have Robbie fetching his profile, customer profile, perfectly okay. He fetches his profile by /customer/12548/profile, 12548 being his customer ID. And in the response, we can see we get his first name, last name, phone number, SSN, and address. Now, Robbie gets curious. He just changes his customer ID to 12549, and boom, he hits Eva Rose profile. If you see in the response on the right, we have the session ID consistent, but the response has Eva Rose details now. So this was a pretty simple attack. Though Robbie landed on it accidentally without any intention to exploit anyone, hackers would know exactly what to do and which APIs to target, because that is their bread and butter. So it's important we are protected against such attacks that are simple to execute but have a huge impact on the organization's security. RASP works in line within the application stack and may store negligible state information. Thus, they are unable to correlate their findings across requests or applications. Since RASP only has the visibility for the current application context, additional application level attacks like distributed denial of service or protection from bot armies cannot be efficiently solved by RASP. Though a perimeter solution can completely isolate that traffic, absorb it, and take defensive action even before the attack hits the application stack. RASP also requires an intrusive deployment model and is highly dependent on the platform and code base used for the application to be beneficial. It has to be deployed along with the application in the application stack. Some organizations may not feel comfortable deploying RASP for critical services, thus needing to invest parallelly in other security solutions that add additional cost and maintenance. In today's high-performing world, where availability is expected to be at least 4 nines, downtimes could severely impact your SLAs, resulting in lost revenue and damage to company brand. RASP might impact the application functionality even in monitoring mode, as they wrap over existing essential library functions. Since RASP does not learn the business context, it may predict and keep predicting that perfectly valid use case is malicious. Say you get a SQL injection, but that library is supposed to receive SQL. So RASP will keep flagging it as SQL injection. Now you have to go and tune that. So allowing RASP to stop code running in production amid an attack may also pave for an effective self-imposed denial of service engine. This could be a bug in RASP or integration, or as every application may integrate differently with RASP. Conceptually, RASP can do more in-depth protection sitting within the application, but there are practical challenges in managing and updating a RASP component deployed at every endpoint. RASP adds additional performance overheads, not just on the application execution, but also on dedicated effort required to deploy, tune, and monitor itself and the runtime environment. If you have been using RASP, you would know, like most of the RASP solutions, they provide you a per API, a per application monitoring, right? So it's really difficult to do that. If you have money to spare, you can put RASP on all the endpoints, but that is also going to slow down your pipeline bit by bit because the request lag is continuously aggregating. And to determine proper placement that protects all your asset, you may need to gather internal information about the application and trace data flow. Because you may not want to put RASP on every solution, but you might want to put it on every critical path that is being hit. So you need to identify all those critical paths and place them there. Though RASP goals are noble, its deployment can create unintended consequences that produce pain points. For example, if you are deploying RASP at the last moment, situations may require rewriting of software execution at the last minute for RASP integrations. If there are operational issues that hit revenue generation, security stats taking the backseat, resulting in detections disabled or alarms paused. Also, introducing risk from a support and incident perspective, particularly as applications are modularized and supported by distributed teams. Because you can expect a lot of finger pointing. Oh, whose change did this? Was it the RASP? Was it the integration? Or where did the exact risk or incident lie? Yeah. RASP could be considered as another layer of control, but human behavior can lead to too much reliance on RASP. For application protection especially, generating a vial of vulnerabilities that attackers can use in conjunction with other techniques to exploit the application. For in-house developed proprietary libraries, RASP tools are still not substitutes, as they can only protect on what they know of. Regardless of your protection profiles and tool sets, you should follow the secure software development lifecycle with formal methods such as source code reviews or automated tools like SAST or DAST to identify and remediate vulnerabilities in both the source code and the application. If you'd like to protect further, you can use IES tools, which have partially RASP capabilities or integrate with RASP as well. There are many other advantages and disadvantages to RASP. I pointed out the major ones that are considered in an evaluation. So what should you be looking for? Detect and protect against all kinds of attacks, be it OWASP top 10, OWASP API top 10, business logic attacks. Provide in-depth insights into attacks with enriched information, enabling team to collaborate on security and root cause analysis. Provide real-time flow map of all your microservice API inventory definitions and risk assessments. Also enable threat hunting and forensics through a data lake, where all your APIs and microservices are connected based on their usage. What if one application protection tool could do all of this? At Traceable AI, we are building such a solution. If you're curious, even I am more and more every day. So go take a look. So it looks like we have some time for questions. You can reach out to me on my contact details, or go ahead and shoot the questions at me right now. Platform is yours.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we have a couple of questions. One of them here is, what is the if I have a WAF in place, do I also need RASP?
Yeah. So WAF only protects you from an application level on the front side. When your internal applications, they still are vulnerable. So there are insider threats you may know of, right? Insider threats are real, and you need to be protected against those. So you do need solutions that can protect you as RASP do.
All right, great, thank you. Another question coming in. Can I use RASP tools to monitor for penetration testers?
It depends on what your motives are. If you just want to validate findings penetration testers are providing you were caught by RASP or not, it's perfectly okay. But RASP cannot provide you with information of what steps the penetration testers take that led to an exploit. Just pointing the code is not enough. Anyone of you working with bug bounty programs would know methodology is the first important step, because if you know the methodology, you might discover other similar issues. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that, Roshan. And see, can I use RASP to identify vulnerabilities in our secure SDLC?
Well, that's if you know exactly how to execute attacks on your application, to a certain extent, yes. But as I said, RASP only protect you against most common vulnerabilities, not all. So you will be able to identify those, but for that you have to know how to attack your applications, because RASP cannot generate those attack traffic. They can identify vulnerabilities in a way where they have been exploited by others. So that is one way, but you don't want to wait until your application is exploited. You do want to, if some vulnerabilities are left out, it's perfectly okay to rely on RASP, but not before that. Tools that are dedicated to do such vulnerability identification are also known as IAST, which is Interactive Application Security Testing, and evolution over DAST, and do integrate with RASP. So those tools integrate with RASP and will provide you code level details of your vulnerabilities as well. So bridging both the facts of world.
Okay, great. That is it. Wait a minute, see if there's any other questions come in. Last chance, everyone. Okay, then that is the conclusion of this webinar. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Roshan, for the great presentation. For everyone's information, the presentation slides are in the BrightTalk Attachments tab, including a link to Traceable AI website in case you'd like to learn more about what we do. Once again, thank you all for your time and attention. Have a good rest of your day or evening.
Thank you, everyone.